Hola, estudiantes. I am so excited to get to explain to you how to use and conjugate the imperfect tense in Spanish. It is actually one of my favorite tenses because I'm a Spanish teacher, so I have favorite tenses uh, to conjugate because there's only three irregulars for one, and the AR conjugations are really fun to say. You're going to love them. So, we'll get to when you use the imperfect later, but just the conjugations. So you, of course, have the yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos forms. So it changes every form. For an AR verb, just like you do with the present tense and the preterite tense, the first thing you do is take off the AR, right? Then you have your root. In fact, I'm going to leave that. I'm going to copy that in red. And there's our root. Oops. And then you add the ending. So for bailar, the ending for the yo form is aba, bailaba, right? And for the to form, it's oops, let's put that in red again, bailabas. And for the el, ella, usted form, it's the same as it is for the yo form, bailaba. So it could be important to use your pronouns, right? And then for the nosotros form, it's bailábamos, and you have to have an accent on the A. Otherwise, it's bailabamos, and we want to say bailábamos, bailábamos, not bailabamos. So bailábamos, we have an accent on the A. You can see some familiarities between the present tense and this. You just have that aba in there. The vosotros is bailabais. And the ellos, ustedes is bailaban. Oops. All right. Oops. Oh my goodness. What did I do? Bailaban. Bailaban. So it gets really fun if you have a word that already has a B in it, like trabajar. Trabajar, the yo form is trabajaba. The ellos form, trabajaban. And then my favorite, the nosotros form, trabajábamos, right? All of those that already have a B in it are so much fun in the AR tense. So those are your endings for the AR verbs. In fact, let's go underline them. So we've got bailaba, bailabas, bailaba. Nosotros bailábamos. Bailábamos. Oh, I keep getting the L in there. We don't want the L. Bailábamos. Bailabais. And bailaban. So the underlined part, no matter what the AR verb is, those are your endings. So cantar would be cantaba. Estudiar would be estudiaba. Trabajar, trabajaba. All right. For ER and IR verbs, they have the exact same endings. So it's not as much fun as the AR verbs. There's no B in it. So for comer, you again just take the root, take off the ER, and you just take the root. And for the yo form, it's comía. So you need a I with an accent and then an A. For vivir, it's vivía. So you need the I with an accent. I with an accent. For the to form, it's comías, I with an accent. And vivías, I with an accent. For ella, usted, it's the exact same. In fact, I'll just copy and paste those. as the ella or as the yo form. So comía, oops, and vivía. For the nosotros form, it is comíamos. So you do need the accent on the I still. Comíamos and vivíamos. Accent on the I. Vivíamos. For the vosotros, you have the root. Let's copy that again. So it's com, because you take off the ER. And then comíais. So you have the accent on the I still, that first I, and then you add AIS. So it's a lot of vowels, comíais. And for or vivir, because it's an IR verb, but it has the same endings, the accent on the I, vivíais. All right, and then for the ellos, ustedes form, it is comían, accent on the I. You can see a pattern there, very similar to the present tense endings, but with a little special extra sound in there. And then vivir is oops. Oh, darn it, sorry. Vivían. Accent on the I. AN. And those are it. Those are your endings for the imperfect. The cool thing I think I told you is there are only 3 irregular verbs. The first one, ver, which means to see, is barely even irregular. What makes it irregular is normally you take off the ER and add the endings, but if we did that, we'd be left with just the letter V. So they only take off the R. So the yo form is, it's still an ER verb, so it's veía. The accent on the I. The 2 forms, veías. So you just basically, it's pretty much the same as the other ER-IR verbs. It's just you don't take off the ER, you only take off the R. So that's an easy one. Veía and veíamos. And veíais. And veían. So not too irregular. Just don't take off the ER, only take off the R for ver. Then we have ear. Ear is like irregular in every tense, right? In the present tense, it's voy. In the preterite, it's fui. In the imperfect tense, it's an IR verb, but it kind of sounds more like the AR endings. It's iba and ibas and iba. And accent on the I, íbamos. And ibais and iban. So instead of having IR endings, it kind of has more of the AR endings. So iba, ibas, iba, íbamos. Ser, I know you guys have heard ser before because we've been using it in context already. Ser in the past tense is era, era. You use it a ton for descriptions. So yo era, I was something. Tú eras. Él, ella, usted era. Nosotros éramos, accent on the E. If it didn't have an accent, it would be pronounced éramos. And we want éramos. And then erais. And eran. That's all the irregulars. So now, when do you use the imperfect? Well, it's often called the descriptive past. So anytime you're describing something in the past, definitely, like she was She was sick, right? We're describing it. So estaba enferma. We could say the house was white. La casa era blanca. All right. For habitual events, they'll use it. So habitual events would be, in English, we say, I used to go to EMS. So in Spanish, you would say, yo iba a EMS. Or like in English, we say this a lot too. I would, something you would do a lot when you were a kid. I would play video games. That's something that you would do all the time, habitually, right? So you would say, yo jugaba videojuegos. That's how you use it if you're saying something habitually. It's also used for an action in progress. Like you could say, I was playing video games. So yo, usually like this action in progress would be interrupted. So yo jugaba, actually, let's just say that. I was playing video games when da 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 da. So yo jugaba videojuegos cuando da 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 da. So this jugaba can also be like the present progressive, the past progressive, without even putting it the was ing in there. You can also conjugate it as, let me do it like that. The same thing. You could also say, I was playing video games when dot dot dot. And you can combine the present progressive with the imperfect, and it would look like this. Yo estaba, because a star is what you conjugate. Yo estaba jugando con videojuegos. I wouldn't stress too much about that form though, but that's how it's used in the past. So for descriptions, things you used to do, actions in progress, the concept is really like, we don't know exactly when these things started or when they finished. Like I used to go to EMS, like, all right, that was sometime in your past, but we don't know exactly what day and when it ended. Same thing with the action in progress. Like, okay, at some point you were playing video games, but we don't know. It's not like the predator. We're like, I played video games. It's done and over. In fact, and same with descriptions. Let me just give you examples. If you heard this in Spanish, here's a brief preterite versus imperfect examples. This is just brief. I don't want to get in too much. We're going to practice it this week. So, we need an accent. The preterite, if you heard someone say, yo comí pizza, you would have this feeling that they ate it and they're done. Probably it just happened like yesterday, or, like I ate pizza. All right. Whereas if they said yo comía pizza, I would interpret that as like I used to eat pizza, or I was eating pizza. But just has a different nuance to it in the past tense. Same with, here's another example. Ella estudió español. She studied Spanish. We would have the impression that, she studied it for a couple years and then she's done. She studied Spanish. Whereas if you heard someone say, ella estudiaba español, you would think like, oh, she used to study Spanish, or she was studying Spanish, depending on the context. So that's kind of the nuance behind when you hear those two different past tenses. Again, we're going to practice all week, so don't stress if you're not quite getting it, but you will. You will catch on. All right. Good luck. Adios.